Okay, everybody, tonight will be a little different. You'll see the video that I'm making right now, which is May 7th, 2020. And normally I post 8 videos a night, and that way you know, even though I don't get to talk to a lot of you on the social media sites because I do so many, at least you know when you see those videos every night, I kind of have catalogs and a process that I go through them. So it's not just scattered. It might look scattered at times, but it's me considering it ministry. And so we are connected. And every night I have a certain percentage of people that just through the websites gather around, because I see that. So that's good, because social media, I understand, Facebook and all the ones I use, people are on there all the time, which is good. But I appreciate that people support the websites, because they know when I'm going to post, and they go through those videos because I see that. So that's a blessing. I really was not going to speak on this because I wonder if people do certain things to disrupt the order. But just about 2 hours ago, I just got home 30 minutes ago. But I'm down by the water where the vehicles often drive by. And I told my friends, a couple of my friends today, they showed up over there where I normally sit. They said, yeah, we have not seen that Camry go by anymore, John. Were not aware that I posted license plate and all that, which was right and just. And so that showed that maybe that vehicle I posted was indeed an officer. And if it was, he deserved to be shown that that's what they do on their days off, if it was. But as I was sitting by the spot, oftentimes there's a white line that, you don't drive on that lane. That's like the parking lane. There's a lot of people that fish there and all. But sometimes when I'm with Furman, I was with him today and another friend, vehicles will kind of go over that line and head towards us. Not real fast, but Furman sometimes, he wanted to sit in front of the car because he thinks people are going to run into me on purpose. But I sit behind my car because it's just comfortable for me. So I'm in the way where if a vehicle came up, if they wanted to, they can run me over because I'm right behind my vehicle. But I just looked up as I was working on the websites, and Furman walked out to the island, and my other friend, Jerry. And so we kind of fellowship. And I just happened to look up as I was building the websites, friending people and all. There were 2 cop cars coming. It wasn't really out of the norm. But just when I looked up, I thought, oh, they're going to stop and talk to me. Why did I think that? Because one of the cop cars pulled over into that parking lane heading towards me. And I thought, surely they're not like the other people that pull over that line into the parking lane to kind of like scare us. That's what the others do. So when I realized 2 were coming up and one drove in the parking lane, like kind of coming up to me. So I assumed they were going to park. And then I looked up, and he pulled out of that lane, and they both passed. Which showed me, however mad you are, when you're in a police vehicle, you don't do what people do when they're not in police vehicles. Meaning, he just swerved over that white line, not real fast, kind of pulling up to where I'm sitting, and then swerved back out. Now this is for the public to understand, and the people to understand, and for Chief Markle to understand, that no matter how upset you are, and you want to confront somebody, you're driving around. The biggest expense of this city is for public safety and for police. I've covered this in the past, but it's like in the 90%. Most municipalities, I'm a retired firefighter, and public safety is the biggest expense. Kingsville, it was that way. Cops and fire. But over the years, me dealing with these issues, their expense is a lot higher than it would normally be. That came out in the public a few years ago. It was debated. The mayor, the present mayor, kind of told the truth about it. The cops went on the radio. It was the union officer and said that the mayor was lying. And at that time, a prominent local radio man who just retired recently, Jim Lago, he said, man, the cops are basically lying about you, McComb, because he showed that the money was way out of proportion for the public safety for the police officers, meaning they get way too much because when they cash out their retirements and all. And the cops came against him in a public forum. And even Jim Lago, who is a conservative, supports police, said, man, they're calling you a liar, McComb. Now, this little incident today, this is minor compared to many of the things I've dealt with over the years. This is minor. But for the public to know that there's a percentage of people on that department, and this is minor, that are not going to change. And some of the real bad things I dealt with, these are the videos that are still on YouTube, dealt with felony criminal activity. This is over a period of 7 years. I mean, real criminal activity. Things that national media even focused on. Really, John? Yes, really. And we had a judge by the name of Tom Greenwell. Could be about, I don't know, 4 years now. But he was found shot dead in the head in the courthouse of Corpus Christi. It's the Oasis County Courthouse located in the city of Corpus Christi. And the Tom Greenwell dead judge found in the courthouse raised eyebrows. National media picked up that story, meaning that's something wrong there. Local media covered it, and there was never like a full resolution of exactly what happened. Now, when you have national media saying there's some real problems down that far south, and they never would come out and give a conclusive statement on that, as my recollection was, and I covered it, I posted all that. What that shows you is, despite the COVID-19 crisis, which I think at this time I'll just comment that the reaction that the United States took and other parts of the world took was probably way overreaction. Now follow all the guidelines, do all the things that they tell you to do. But as you look at the death rate, in the beginning we thought it was going to be maybe like a 5%, which would have been high. Right now it's looking like it's under 1% because so many people were infected and we didn't realize it in the beginning. Meaning a lot of people were infected, developed their own immunity or antibodies, like when you get another sickness. And the more you test, the more you realize, oh, a lot more people had it. And more than likely, a lot of the younger population just had it. They felt sick. And the only ones that we really were testing in the beginning were people that got real sick, went into the hospital. So we were testing, the more severe cases, and sadly some did die. But what we're recognizing because of this percentage of numbers, that it's more than likely a lot less deadly than we had thought. And so the reaction, communities, states are beginning to open up now. But I just mentioned that because I'm doing this little update tonight, and that's going to be it. So even though something like this, maybe to the average person, you would think, man, a cop car swerved into the parking lane and kind of was behind you and then swerved back out. To me, it was almost like, should I even talk about it? Is it worth it? But to you, that you're not familiar that these things go on, it's worth me mentioning that. It's worth the community seeing. And you might say, yeah, but John, but you were hard on them. When I'm hard on them, legally, as a blogger, and as a poster, and everything else, I'm not coming with the force of a department against you. I'm speaking as a citizen that's speaking out on issues that needed to be spoken out on. And when you're working for the city, and you're in a cop car, my personal view is your ass should be fired for that. Because you took it personal, because the Camry, even the guy said, they didn't know I posted. A lot of my friends are not online, some of them are. They said, John, that Camry hasn't been bothering us. And it was the same one. Now, if he was a cop, and I rightfully did not get violent, nor did I try to run into his vehicle, and if he was, and even if he wasn't, and you just happened today, I just happened to look up, and I thought, oh, they're going to stop, because he pulled into the parking lane, where my friend Furman, whenever vehicles do that, he rightfully says, oh, do you see that, John? They acted like they were going to hit us. Normally that's happened, because people, some of that group do that. But now you go in your cop car and do that. So, and look, I could cover all types of cases, which I did, which are including cases of unsolved bodies, people that get killed in our community, murdered with witnesses, and not even 2 weeks ago, somebody called local law enforcement. I don't know the exact name, but they called local law enforcement about a severe FBI crime. Okay, can't give you all detail. They called the cops. They never even showed up. They never even showed up. What would you do in a community if you witnessed a killing? As an innocent person, meaning you saw somebody shoot somebody, and there was an actual body dead. What would you do if you called the cops and they never came? What would you do? Would you take it upon yourself to then just call the funeral home, or would you bury the body, or would you? So, our community, like many communities, are dealing with crises. And as this passes, that we're dealing with as a society, the biggest blight on this community is even this little example I gave you today. Some of those people are getting paid that are working at that place. Some of them are criminals. And many of the real severe cases I covered that are still on YouTube, where there were felonies committed by cops and my friends, those people are still, they moved up the ranks. Because these were things that went on, 20 years ago, that were involved in the real bad stuff. And I went and spoke once to, these are all on videos. One time I went to Internal Affairs here in Corpus Christi. I guess it's on William Street. And I was just complaining about a fine. It had nothing to do, and I said, but I was mad because the cop said, we won't give you a fine. I helped a friend, I was telling a neighbor this the other day, I helped a friend drop off. He got some stuff from the mission, and the guys live in camps. And so one of my friends at the mission, this was 5 years ago, said, can you just drop me off on one of the streets? And they're homeless. And he had the stuff that was donated to him, because they get clothing and all. So I said, yeah, I'll drop you off. And so he was taking the stuff. I helped him carry it off the road. And so then the next day, my daughter had called me, and I was out at the mission the next day. She said, now this is police. She said, code enforcement came by, Dad, and said, they saw you dropping off stuff, which was true. I said, oh yes, I was helping my friend Charlie. And code enforcement told my daughter, just have your dad go pick it up, and they'll meet him a fine. And so I did. I picked it up, came home, the cops were here, huffing and puffing. What'd you do with that stuff? You dumped it on the road? I said, I got it in my garage. One of them was jumping up. I said, no, I have it in the garage. And then about a month later, got a huge fine. They lied their asses off to my daughter. And the fine was, I don't, $1,000. My wife was mad. They said they wouldn't fine you, John, if you picked it up. They lie out their asses because they're criminals. Do you understand this? So I told my neighbor this the other day. So I had to go to dumping court. It was downtown Chaparral, whatever. And I had to explain. I said, look, I do a ministry. I was dropping off a friend. They gave him some stuff at the mission. It's not illegal dumping. So it was 6 months, 8 months probation. Next one, you get a lien on your property. And all a bunch of bullshit lie. And you guys get paid out your ass for the job you do. So for the well-meaning officer today that said, he scared our other cop friend because John put his license plate on his websites. So today, we're not going to care about all the unsolved murders, killings, deaths, bodies. My friends see homicides. They call on federal things, and you don't even show up. Why do you think I'm upset when the churches hire these people to do security? And you're telling the people, if you don't tithe, you're under a curse. This is not teaching. And then you justify paying armed men, armed cops, to be at the church building on Sunday. Where is that justified for the use of the tithe? When you tell these people, you quote Malachi and everything else. Where is it justified to hire people with guns to be at your church buildings? There's your rebuke. In general, a lot of you are doing it. The cathedral, which I probably will attend Sunday, doesn't do it. So that's your update. Mr. Chief Markle, when you're in uniform and you're in a cop car and all, you do your job. Do your damn jobs. You want to drive off the road like you're going to hit me? You did do it in your private vehicles, but I guess that stopped because I scared the shit out of that one guy simply by letting him know. I didn't threaten him, but I saw his face when he sat in Walmart. I just got the picture of the car. And then he pulled out, and I got a good look at his face, shitting in his pants in the car. So that upset you, that one of your officers, more than likely he was, but whether he was or not, that vehicle I gave you, but you did it in a cop car. And you said, let's watch John make a video. As God is my witness, that just happened. And I still sad I was going to upload the videos tonight. And do they do it, John? It's worth me tonight doing this as the CCPD update of the day. It would have been fine if they stopped, being they drove off into the parking lane, where my friend Furman has seen other cars do that. And he rightfully says, they're not in the driving lane, they're like, when they go in the parking lane and drive up, it's like they're going to run into you. So even regular vehicles, and even my friend Furman today did not want to sit behind the car. He told me, because I sit behind where they could do it. And so he kind of put his bike in the front of the car. I like just sitting behind the car. I'm not testing anybody. But in a cop car. And they'll laugh. They'll see this. They'll laugh because if I gave you all the cases that are criminal felony cases, these people rose the ranks. And how does your local municipality deal with it? Like the killing of Tom Greenwell, that national media, it made it into all the national news because they're reading this. That's a joke. Whatever we did with Greenwell, we did with Greenwell. The national media will get over it. We're going to answer questions, we'll answer them. That's what your local people say. If we want to let things go, we let things go. So this is just for the community to know. My advice would be, it's too corrupt this far south. My advice would be, will they ever remove the chief for the people that were involved in the real bad stuff that happened to some of my friends who died? I looked this way because Huey Martin gave me like little gifts. I'm still friends with his brothers. Huey's dead. But they committed felonies. And he just innocently used to ask me, how could they do that, John? In a nice way. He said, how could the cops get away with what they're getting away with, John? And I knew how they were doing it. I said, well, you know, basically they lie. But some of these things were felonies. You know, you say you're going to kill somebody. This was in front of Paris Apartments. And you kill him. You kill him. I didn't know that my friends knew. And you say you're going to kill him. You strangle him right there. Choke him until he dies. And then the coroner report is he died of an asthma attack. Now, where do you have an officer or anybody making a threat to kill somebody and then they kill that person? And what happened to him? He's one of the highest ranking people on the police department today. Right now. The one that you and I and all of the public, one of the highest ranking people at the PD today. So, for my visitors today, you very well could have stopped if you wanted. I made no threats. But in a cop car, in the parking lane, pulling right up to me and then swerving out. No matter how mad you are that I expose corruption and bullshit that you all engage in, we are throwing money in this community down a black hole. And a lot of the other pastors and everybody else that are buddy-buddy with it, in a sense you're seeing now. Many of you, if you have services and you do something wrong, you're at threat of you getting locked up, because they just locked up a salon owner in Texas yesterday, in Dallas, Texas. The date I gave you in the beginning, because she opened her salon. I think it was a black judge. And he put her in prison, jail, salon owner. The governor came out, Abbott, and made an executive order that no one is going to go to jail for violating COVID-19 restrictions. And then the Texas Supreme Court overturned that judge quickly. But so some of you are experiencing the possibility of, if you have a church meeting. They did it in Robstown. I don't know if they're still bringing charges against that pastor. But if you have a church meeting and they deem everybody is not 6 feet apart, they can come in and arrest you and arrest the people in the church meeting. So there's a tension. I felt like people never spoke out like I did. So as God is my witness, that just happened 2 hours ago. This would be the one video tonight. But they're not accountable. And they know they're not accountable. How many times at the park these last few years, they dropped bullets out of the cop cars into the parking lot. They dropped IDs. One of my homeless friends, they all over the place, because they used to hang out right where the cop shop was. She knocked on the door, gave it to the lady that cleans up. The cops are dropping this in the parking lot. That was a few years ago. They couldn't believe it. Like, what the hell what is going on? I mean, what is going on in this community? So So, Chief, I'm sure when your boys did like a little thing like that, you probably thought, let's piss them off. How about the calls about shootings, murders, killings, and you don't even show up? Or the one 2 weeks ago that called about an FBI top 10 that was here. You didn't even show up. And it wasn't me that called. You don't even show up. There was a girl that was killed, and everybody on the street knew she was murdered. This was a few months back. Everybody. And that was just dropped, if you will. They picked the body, they got her. So what does that tell the people on the street? It tells the other ones, look, if you murder someone that's on the street, that they're going to let you kill each other out here. All right. This is the one video for tonight. I gave you the date. So we'll see what happens. But for the rest of the world to know, my wonderful friends all over the place, at least we shed some light. At least we shed some light. And this little incident today, a cop car trying to run into me, is nothing. It's nothing compared to what goes on. It's nothing compared to what goes on. God bless you all. Chief.